Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visite suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Naše programy nabízejí více jazyků. Prosím, navštivte suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Meike is storytelling through song, dance, and music. For generations, the indigenous Fijians have passed down their history, beliefs, traditions, morals, and values through the Meike. The iTaukei of Fiji, Islanders with Heart. Watch on to find out more.
Bulavnaka. This is a traditional greeting in the Fijian language meaning a warm hello. Virtuous viewers, I am Leslie. The people of Fiji wish that tranquility and harmony always grace your surroundings. Welcome to the iTaukei of Fiji, Islanders with Heart. Today, we are going to travel to a quintessential tropical island paradise with balmy breezes to learn about an indigenous people whose ancestors came to this beautiful archipelago around 3,500 years ago. A recent poll found that the people of Fiji are the happiest in the world. Spend any amount of time here and you will understand why. Fiji is truly spectacular and features white sand beaches, turquoise oceans, palm trees, and fertile land. It's no wonder the ocean-faring Melanesians called the Lapita, who found their way to the islands, decided to stay and make the archipelago their home. The island's physical attractions are not the only reason for the residents' happiness. Indigenous Fijians come from close-knit village communities and enjoy a rich cultural heritage. The majority of such Fijians are called the iTaukei and make up 57% of the current population of 800,000 people. The iTaukei are a mixture of Melanesians, including the Lapita and other groups from areas such as the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu and East Timor, and Polynesians. Another 1.2% are the Rotumans, who evolved from a melting pot of Pacific Island peoples. Today, most iTaukei continue to live in their villages with traditional governmental structures. One cultural experience that many tourists enjoy when in Fiji is visiting an indigenous community to observe their way of life. The Lapita brought certain plants and a pottery style known as Lapita ware to Fiji. Although two other pottery styles later developed on the Fijian islands, the Lapitian pottery is very notable as it is characterized by repetitive, intricate geometric patterns. Some of the ceramics also feature human-like faces and figures. The ancient indigenous Fijians were an ocean-going people who, like many of the Melanesians and Polynesian cultures, built seaworthy canoes whose capabilities show their civilization had achieved an impressive level of technological advancement. The Drua, also known as the Wakatabu or sacred canoe, was advanced in terms of its naval design and performance, which made it capable of impressive speeds of up to 15 knots. Unlike other indigenous canoes built of hollowed-out logs, the Drua was a double-hulled plank boat built without metal, which could be as long as 36 meters. The boats could hold up to 200 people as well as supplies. One European visitor present at the time the vessels were still being used for transportation noted that he had witnessed one of the drua with 300 tons of bagged grain on its deck. The sails were woven from the leaves of the pandanus, which is a palm-like deciduous tree. Another interesting feature of the boat was that either end could be the bow or front of the craft, so changing the direction was done by resetting the sails. The steering oars could be up to 10 meters long and required several men to pull them. Architecture reveals to us the cultural values, traditions, and beliefs of a society. The same can be said of the types of buildings found in Fijian villages, which reflect the influence of communal values that infuse life in Fiji. While many of the villages on the islands have embraced modern materials, Navala village on the island of Levu has maintained its traditional building styles, methods and materials, making it one of the most popular communities for tourists to visit. One of the most important structures is the Valeni Vanua, which is the traditional meeting house or cultural space used by clan heads and the village chief. The Valeni Vanua holds an essential place in their society as it is a site where conflicts are resolved and peace is strengthened. A common style is the thatched oblong with no center pole. The Tongan style was introduced by canoe builders from Tonga who came in search of timber to build very large canoes. This type has arched roofs, straight sides, and rounded ends. We are now going to have a short intermission for an important message. When we return, we will learn more about how traditional Fijian architecture reflects the native people's cultural values. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to the iTaukei of Fiji, Islanders with Heart, here on Supreme Master Television. We now continue our exploration of iTaukei architecture. Another important building was the Burekalo, which was the traditional place of worship. These were very tall buildings, built on a platform and up to 6 stories high, due to their belief that the taller the building, the closer the worshippers would be to the deities. These sacred structures would have a long piece of masi, or bark cloth, which was hung from the center of the building to provide a pathway for the gods to descend to earth, so that they could communicate with humanity. The chief would sit at the end of the masi, to be a conduit between the gods and those of the community. A traditional family house is called a vale. These typically have woven leaf mats on top of grass or fern leaves to cover packed dirt floors. The women would usually prepare food in hearth pits in the valleys. Meke also helps the iTaukei preserve their culture. Meke is storytelling through song, dance, and music. For generations, the indigenous Fijians have passed down their history, beliefs, traditions, morals, and values through the Meke. There are several different types of Meke, some of which are performed by men, others by women. A modern variation has introduced male-female collaborations. The male dances are designed to show the man's strength and masculinity, while the female dances highlight the women's grace and gentleness. The dancers often chant and clap, and are accompanied by a traditional drum called the lali. The lali is a slit drum, similar to drums found in Polynesian cultures. Beyond the use of the lali for the performance of the meke, this drum had been used in ancient times to announce births, deaths, and tell time. In some instances, the lalis were used for sophisticated communications. The lali is typically made from trees known to produce resonant wood, and the sticks used to play them are made from softer wood so as not to harm the lali. Today, aside from the meke, they are also utilized similar to church bells to call people in the community to church. One of the most beautiful aspects of Fijian culture is the production of bark cloth, commonly called tapa, which is a Tahitian word. The cloth has different names in different areas of Fiji, including masi. The bark cloth plays an important role across Polynesia and has also been used for formal clothing. Masi was viewed as having a spiritual role for protecting mana, which is a spiritual power or influence that a man like a priest or a chief possesses. For example, a chief would wear a bark cloth outfit and walk on such cloth to safeguard the sacredness of the mana. Women making the cloth typically remove the inner bark from certain trees, including the mulberry, fig or breadfruit tree, and create small strips. The strips are soaked in water to soften them, then removed and pounded to make them into individual pieces of cloth. Larger pieces are made by pounding the edges of one cloth into another. The material is then decorated with stencils, freehand painting, dyeing or printing. The motifs seen in the bark cloth are often similar to those in lapita pottery. The Fijian people are as kind, warm, and welcoming as their nation's gentle breezes and tropical waters. May you have the unique opportunity to journey here one day to experience this paradise and this splendid native culture. Pleasant viewers, thank you for your company today for our program. Up next is Shining World Compassion Award recipient, Skylands Animal Sanctuary and Rescue, right after noteworthy news. May the Providence safeguard you wherever you may be.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/CTAW.